confidence. Is this something you'd like to grow in? I think it's a wonderful thing to grow in because I feel like some of the most successful people in life are people that are confident and resilient. So let's talk about confidence. First of all, I feel like there's misinformation regarding confident people. I think there's this perceived idea that they're just confident all the time, and that is not accurate. We all have insecurities. We all have, I'll speak for myself, I have hormonal, tired, and stuff like that. But most people perceive me as a pretty confident person, and I can just say that that's not true all the time, and we'll talk more about that. I think another thing to bring up is we're not talking about narcissism confidence or perceived confidence. So a narcissist looks very confident, but they're either A, they are hiding their insecurities, or B, they're completely disconnected. And so that is a different sort of situation. But I'm talking about a true confidence where you like yourself and you've got your back and all of that. And that really stems from our thinking. And we'll talk a lot more about that. For me, confidence has been an interesting thing because I do have people say, gosh, you seem really confident and da-da-da-da. And I don't really think about that a ton, but I've delved into this more just to be able to explain this more. And I think what really affected me in confidence and in my life are two things. So I wouldn't come across, I wouldn't say I was a confident person all my life. Definitely not. I did make a choice though in high school because I was naturally quieter. I'm naturally tend to be a people pleaser, as we've talked about. And in high school, I made the choice to be more focused on others than myself because I had the social anxiety that a lot of people have, and I just struggled in that area. And so I just made a choice. I'm like, you know what? If I'm struggling to feel comfortable in these situations, I bet other people are too. And so I almost turned it into an empathy and a way to focus on others to see how they're feeling and to make them more comfortable. So that was really helpful because one of the biggest keys, I think, of confident people is they're actually less focused on themselves and how they're feeling, and they're more focused externally in what they can give and learn and enjoy life and be in the moment. So that was a big decision. Another thing that helped my confidence personally is getting a divorce. And I think it's hard, if you want to be a confident person, you really do need to surround yourself with people that like you and encourage you. And that was not the environment I had been in for 22 years. It was not encouraging. I didn't feel seen or anything, and I was regularly criticized. So getting out of that environment was very helpful to my confidence in a lot of ways. Another thing that's really important about confidence, it's not just like people are confident people. They just are born that way or something. It's really not. Confidence is really a result, and it's a result of a feeling. And so we're going to talk about that. It's very much not circumstances a lot. And let's review kind of the life coach model that I use. So we have the circumstance, and that I put that in the C line is what I call it. And then we have our thoughts about the circumstance, and that is very different than the circumstance. And then we have our feeling, which doesn't come from the circumstance. It comes from our thought about the circumstance. And then from our feeling comes our actions and results. So I would say confidence is a result. And it comes from not the C line like a lot of people think. A lot of people think, oh, they're beautiful, of course they're confident. Or they've got this and that, of course they're confident. And that is so not true. I had a client just recently, and she is gorgeous and completely lacking in confidence. And I would look at her and be like, of course she's confident. She's gorgeous. But it's not that how she looks the way she looks, is how she thinks about how she looks. And that's what creates the confidence. I've also known people that, you wouldn't look at them and think, gosh, they've got a lot going for you. And they are the most confident people. And boy, they go somewhere. And I'm pretty impressed about that. So again, confidence comes from not like our circumstance, because if we look at our circumstance and judge them, we'd be like, I could say, oh my goodness, I got a divorce at, after 22 years, and I could focus on a whole bunch of things and have thoughts around that are very condemning or very just not very nice to myself. And then that's going to create feelings of unworthiness. And then that's going to result in lack of confidence. Whereas confidence comes from a feeling of love. And a feeling of love is made by thoughts that are loving. So, and then you start having actions that are loving. And the result is you tend to be a more confident person. So very, very different than they've got it all or they have it all and they're confident. It's created. And it's created mostly, I would say, in our minds. So we'll talk more about that. So one thing that is important to know is we all have, again, we've got the lawyer and the lifeguard in our brains. And they're working in our brains. And so again, the lifeguard is the one that's always trying to keep us safe, and its main job is to keep us safe. And so one of the things it does is it wants to remind us of all of our quote unquote perceived failures or anything else. And you can't blame the brain. It just wants to keep us from going into the world and doing too much and risking and getting hurt. That's just its job. And so if you listen to the lawyer or the lifeguard in your brain, we will decrease in confidence dramatically, or we won't increase in confidence. So just being able to recognize that that's just a piece of our brain and that's just doing its job. And again, the lawyer is going to give evidence for whatever we tell it. So if we tell it, I'm not a confident person, or I really suck in social situations, the lawyer is going to find evidence for us. But we can use this combination as a hack to help us build more confidence. And I encourage this for many reasons. I encourage this because of just your overall peace that you have with it. And because as we grow in our confidence, we have more to offer the world and more to show the world. And I think that's what we're really meant to do, because that's what distinguishes us, our uniqueness, from everyone else. And as you're more confident, you tend to show that more. And that is a beautiful thing for all of us to enjoy. So I really encourage us all to grow in our confidence. And it is a skill, it is a process, and it's just great to know how it works. So, are you a chronic people pleaser? Do you overgive, overfunction, pretty kind, and you're just tired, or maybe even a little bit resentful? Or are you wondering, wow, is this all to life? Is this how it works? Because I kind of feel like I'm going through the motions. Well, that's what the Unravel Notebook is for. It's 61 days to unravel our thinking, beliefs, and live a life intentionally as we connect closer with God, ourselves, and others, so we can be more confident and live brighter in this world. Let's talk about the hack. So, a lot of our confidence comes again from thoughts of unworthiness or not enoughness. And our thoughts come from a whole bunch of things. It could be how we view ourselves, the stories we tell ourselves, how nice we are to ourselves. It can come automatically from the lifeguard telling us terrible things, or it can be from all sorts of things, but very little to do with the circumstances. So the 6 ways to grow in confidence. Number 1, and this is, I just think, so key, and I can just really tell a difference in my own life, is embracing our intrinsic value, because God loves us and created us. And I think that is huge. And when we just embrace that God loves us unconditionally, He sees us completely clearly with all of our uniqueness and all of our quote-unquote perceived failures and all of those things. And what He sees is just His beautiful creation that He adores. So just embracing that love and embracing that really helps with any I'm not worthy or I'm not enough, because according to God, you are more than enough and you are worthy. And so that is very important. One thing that can really help with that is using the Bible to affirm what it says about your worthiness and your enoughness. And if you want more on that, you can go to my website, livebrighter.info, and you can get the affirmations for free, because those are really helpful to increase our confidence. When we believe what God says about us, it gives us an underlying base of enoughness and worthiness and confidence. And then the second one is, I think, just learning to have your back. are like the loving yourself. And that was the last 4 episodes. So we talk a lot about that. And I really think it starts with accepting all of our past and just accepting ourselves and treating ourselves with love, which means that we choose never to play the bully to ourselves and to be the friend to ourselves, to encourage ourselves. And I say download the cheerleader and download the encourager. One thing I do is my gold stars every night. And my husband and I will be like, hey, so what were your gold stars for the day? And I say, hey, I really, I did this, or I grew in this, or, I wanted to act this way and I chose to act this way. And we list a few gold stars every night. And, coming from my background, that might have sounded kind of boastful or something like that, but I don't think so at all. I think it's a beautiful thing to be like, yes, and I'm growing, and these are the things I'm focusing on, my gold stars of the day. And so just being an encourager and encouraging one another, and that starts creating just more and more happiness. So the first one, again, embracing our intrinsic value by God. And the second one is loving yourself or having your own back. And that's really important. And I used to be so other focused that having my own back first, that's a new concept as of like 7 years ago. And that is, I really believe, God's order of things is love the Lord your God and love others as you love yourself. You've really got to start with that loving yourself before you can really love others and show up in the world in the best way possible. So the third one I would say to grow confidence is choosing things for our future self. And what that means, and I just kind of download that future self image into my brain and be like, okay, what do I want to be in 5 years? What does that look like? And then start choosing things instead of like, okay, yeah, I really want to eat, that all of that cake, and I really want to live the life of not doing any work and this and that. That could seem really nice for the moment, but that doesn't really help me now, even though it feels like it for a moment, but it really doesn't help my future self. And so making decisions to help my future self and is motivating to me and encouraging to me. So that can really help create confidence. The fourth thing is willing to feel our feelings. And I don't think people would normally say, gosh, that's a way to grow confidence. And I think it's huge. What that means is, I'll just give my example. I really didn't want to feel the feelings of disappointment in my situation. I didn't want to feel the feelings of shame and fear, and I definitely wasn't going to allow myself to feel the feelings of rage or anger. So a lot of mental challenge came from me trying to avoid really feeling feelings and judging myself for even having those feelings. And that is a drainer. And just being able to feel the feelings. And let me just review what that means, because a lot of people are like, feel the feelings, what does that mean? And really, I just allow myself to have whatever feeling I have, and I don't react. I just be like, wow, I am really pissed off. And then I just go like inside myself and be like, okay, where am I feeling it? It's like a red burning right here. And I'm just look at it a little bit. What's it doing? And how is it, what's going on there? And I just let it feel, I just feel all of it. And then I work through the thinking. And again, that's the process in the barf notebook, as I call it, but you kind of barf it out, sort it out, plan it out. But allowing ourselves to feel the feelings rather than judging ourselves and not allowing us to feel or reacting and creating challenges is really powerful. I can feel embarrassment. I can feel shame, and I'm like, oh, this is what shame feels like, or this is what embarrassment feels like. And when you realize you can actually sit in whatever feeling and it's not gonna harm me, and I can just feel it and let it be part of the human experience and process it, that allows a lot of confidence because I'm not judging and fighting my feelings all the time. So that is a really big deal. So that was number 4. So again, embracing our intrinsic worth, having your own back, number 2, 3, choosing things for your future self, 4, willing to feel our feelings, 5, gaining competency. I really, doing new things and improving at it, even though it's not like where our worth comes from, it is I think it's helpful in confidence. It's like, yeah, I can do new things. And that's a practice because we all suck at things when we start. And it's just nice to be not having our worth based in that, but enjoying that and having that grow our confidence. And the sixth thing to do to gain confidence is have a life coach or do hypnotherapy. And again, a life coach, which is what I am, I'm a life coach and hypnotherapist, it helps us get to our future goal and helps us work through our brain. So what that means is, just like I talked about, confidence isn't in the C line, like we are confident, we're not confident. It's the thought about circumstances. And then it's the feeling of love. Like when we love ourselves and we have love there, we are acting more in a loving way and we have more confidence. And so a life coach kind of shows you your own brain so you can make decisions off of that, because a lot of times our brain is doing its own brain thing, and having an awareness of that is huge. And then as a hypnotherapist, what I do is, if there's a belief like I'm unworthy or something like that, that's constantly battling against your desire to be like more confident, then what we do is we just go back and figure out where you adopted that, because it served a purpose at one time. It's not uncommon. I've had clients that have adopted that belief because it protected them from at that time in their 6-year-old brain from another belief that they didn't want to have, and that would seem more damaging to their brain. And so we just literally just unravel that, and we thank the belief for serving us during that time, and then we change the belief to serve us in the way, that capacity that we want. And I would say self-confidence is a big thing with hypnotherapy and is very valuable. So that's what I have today. Growing confidence, one day at a time, 1% at a time, one thought at a time. For more information, you can go to my website or Instagram. I believe in you. Have a great day.